Okay. So I'm going to start us and get us going. So welcome to our Coast Mountain School District public meeting for May 24th, 2023. I'm smiling as I practice saying Coast Mountain because in respect, we are no longer calling ourselves by 82. We are the Coast Mountain School District, and we've moved that way provincially with all school districts. So those guests from health that are with us will understand some of the sensitivities and some of the trying to find the right language at times. I would like to start the meeting by giving thanks and acknowledging that the lands on which we work and play and learn are the traditional territories of the Gitxsan, Haisla, Nisga'a, and Tsimshian peoples. And Aaron and Julia, who are traveling, are going to share where they're from. So Aaron first.
Hi, everyone. Aaron Callahan, Coast Superintendent, and happy to be coming from the traditional territories this evening of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples in the city of Vancouver.
And Julia, and you can introduce yourself as a trustee too.
Thank you, Margaret. Howdy, everyone. I'm calling in from the traditional territory of the Lheidli in Prince George today. And I am a trustee, and I'm going to fix my screen right now. Thank you.
Okay, good. So I'm Margaret Warkup. I'm your current board chairperson, and I'm from the Terrace area. And I'll go to Ed to introduce himself. Oh, Ed, you're muted.
I wasn't muted a minute ago. I'm Ed Harrison. I'm a song. I'm the trustee from Terrace.
Wayne. Oh, you're muted as well, Wayne. Oh, we got to practice again. He's playing with it. I see his hand up on the screen. Oh, you're having troubles, Wayne. There we are. Oh, now we see his screen or his desk. Wayne, are you able to speak to us? Oh, okay. I'm going to leave Wayne and move on to Mike. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mike Maxim, representative for Thornhill.
Okay, and I'll move on to Karen.
Yelts, good afternoon, everyone. Karen Yonklin. I'm a trustee from Kitimat and vice chair.
Okay, and where is Sunny? There you are, Sunny.
Yelts, good evening, everyone. I'm school board trustee for Kitimat as well.
Okay, and Wayne is obviously still having trouble. Wayne Jones is our trustee from Stewart. So we'll try not to read his notes on the table there. And I'll move on to Aaron to introduce yourself and your staff.
Hi, everyone. So Aaron Callahan, Superintendent, and I'll throw just to move things along. We have three directors I can see on our call this evening. So Julia Nakars, little wave to Julia up in my right-hand corner. Geraldine Lawler, Director of Program Graduation Innovation, as well as Robert Clifton, Director of Instruction for Indigenous Education. Also, I see District Principal Philip Barron. Hi, Philip. And we have Director of Facilities Maintenance, Rob Shibley. Shout out to Rob. Thanks for joining, Rob. Carol Gagnon, Executive Assistant to the board, has joined us this evening. Thank you, Carol. And thank you for all the work you're doing to keep us on track this evening. And Secretary Treasurer, Ginger Fuller. Thank you, Ginger, for joining. And I also see Jeff McKay, Principal in Thornhill. And so thank you, Jeff, for joining this evening. I think that's everyone, Margaret.
Thank you. And welcome to our guests. I see Joanna. Do you want to introduce yourself, Joanna? Oh, muted. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah. It's okay. There we go. I still have no voice from Joanna. Did I miss something in terms of connecting to audio for Joanna? I see you speaking, but I don't see any sound or hear any sound. Sorry. Maybe we'll come back to introducing yourself. And Bruce, you're part of the team. Okay, Carol, I'm going to give it to yourself and your team that's going to present to us, and then we'll catch anybody else that's missing. Yeah.
So my
Carol?
name is Carol Leclerc. I am a Rotarian with Terrasquina Valley, and I'm going to pass the baton over for introductions. I see Brad at the top of my screen.
Oh, Carol, thank you. Can I get an affirmative that my voice is being heard?
Yes.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Brad Lear. I work with Northern Health. I'm in a manager role with specialized mental health and substance use services, and I'm really glad to be here and talking a little bit about adventures in healthcare this evening. Brian Downey, I saw you earlier. Over to you.
Brian Downey, I'm Rotarian, Rotary Club of Terrace. It was a privilege to be able to work with Carol and the partners in Adventures in Healthcare.
Bruce.
Yeah, it might be, other than Jeff, I might be the only other one here. So I'm Bruce. I'm essentially the campus manager for the Terrace campus for UNBC, and also helped the group put together Adventures in Healthcare for this year.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we do have a couple of guests, because I see Roger is joining us, a past trustee. So welcome, Roger. And Joanna, welcome. We do our questions at the end of the meeting from guests, but I'm going to turn it over now for our meeting for Carol to present what I thought was a very exciting program with Adventures in Healthcare. So I'm a little biased.
Thank you so much, Chair Warcup, and thank you everyone for having us here. It's been, on behalf of our partner organizations, it's been a pleasure to put on Adventures in Healthcare. Your students were amazing and appreciative, which made it all the more better for us with the hundreds of hours I'm sure all of our team put in to do this. So next slide, please, Carol. So what is Rotary's Northwest Adventure in Healthcare? It's an opportunity for students to visit Coast Mountain College, the Terrace campus of UNBC, Mills Memorial Hospital, and the health unit, with the objective of students being able to learn about post-secondary pathways in health sciences, and to see different healthcare positions at the hospital and health unit, and to speak to staff filling different roles. Next slide. So why is there a Northwest Rotary's Adventures in Healthcare? The program started in Prince George and grew very popular, still continued through COVID. Terribly oversubscribed, and Ron Davis, the creator of the program, met with Brian Downey at a district Rotary conference and says, Brian, you need to get the program happening in the Northwest. And it was Brian's push that really got us to where we are today. Next slide. So there are a number of partners that put together the Adventures in Healthcare. The 3 Rotary clubs in Kitimat, Terrace, Terrasquina Valley. Brian and I did meet with the Rotary clubs in Prince Rupert and Smithers, but we'll explain in a few minutes why they're not here. Our other partners included Coast Mountain College, the school district, Northern Health, and UNBC. We purposely call our Adventures in Healthcare the Northwest. It was our intent to include Prince Rupert and Smithers, and our secondary partners wanted us also to include Haida Gwaii. We envisioned having students come and stay at the college dorms to gain a true post-secondary experience. But there were too many bugs for us to work out this year. So hopefully next year, a richer post-secondary experience will be available for the participants. These 3 ladies were a godsend. They all took the Adventures in Healthcare, and you can see in brackets, and that's the year that they took the Adventures in Healthcare. They were Caledonia students. Brittany and Brenna, they came with Brian and I as we interviewed the students. And Brian and I, honest to God, would have looked like bumbling idiots had we not had these ladies here. They were able to walk and talk what Adventures in Healthcare was all about. They both have just finished university degrees, could talk about the university experience. Brenna in particular had been singled out as we did our tours through UNBC, Coast Mountain College, and at the hospital as well. Just having graduated as a registered nurse, it's like, can you help us do this demonstration? Can you help us do that demonstration? And Sierra came on a little bit late. She wasn't able to help us with the interviews, but she went with the 3 days with us and was just outstanding as well. Brian, do you have anything to add before I move on to the program? Okay.
Sorry, something was, no, the program, maybe just to backtrack a bit, the program in Prince George started in 2016, has been very, very successful. The architect of the program was Ron Davis, you've heard that. He has tracked where those students have gone after graduation, and majority by a long shot have gone into healthcare. That's all for me at this time, Carol.
Thanks, Brian. So next slide, please. So we were hoping at the start of our planning to get 30 students this year, but not being able to provide as an elaborate program as what Prince George does. They do 4 days. We wanted to take as many of the applicants as we could because we are hoping to do this next year. And if we do it next year, it's probably going to be a wider encatchment area. And to give as many kids a chance to do the Adventures in Healthcare, like I said, we took most of them. So the demographics, we had 34 students, 16 from MEMS, 14 from Caledonia, 5 from Centennial Christian. We noticed in the Prince George videos that we watched, there was very few guys in the program. So we were delighted to have 7 guys and 27 girls. We took 2 students from grade 9. It wasn't our intention to do that, but like I said, we wanted to give as many students a chance at this. And they came from Mount Elizabeth School, and that is part of why they were at the program as well. We interviewed the students, and through their application, we were able to understand some of the interests of the kids, and they wanted to become physicians, paramedics, nurses, pharmacists, x-ray technicians, nurse practitioners, ultrasound technicians, kinesiologists, people, and neurology was other interests that the kids talked about. Next slide, please. So Sunday was our kickoff day. It happened to be Mother's Day, and I was a little bit worried that we weren't going to get all of the students, but every single one of them showed up. We talked about what was going to happen through Coast Mountain College, UNBC, and Northern Health. They talked about their part of the programs. And Brittany, Brenna, and Sierra, the former students, they did an ice-breaking game with the kids. They played bingo, and they had questions on the cards, and the kids had to go and find out information from other people. And I would say the most challenging question on that card was, who had eaten cereal that morning for breakfast? And I think Brian Downey was the only person who had cereal that morning. So it was a really good icebreaker. The kids had lots of fun. The students received their swag bags, name tags, t-shirts, and their program. So I'm going to go on to the next slides, and I think they're pretty explanatory because I know that we're a little bit short on time here. So Monday, we were at the college in the morning. We had a great welcome from Dean Caroloy, and lots of information about Coast Mountain College from Olivia Bartsoff. The first part of the day was learning about the social work program, and you can see on the right side of the slide, there's a ball there, and there was questions on the ball. And the kids were to toss the ball around and pick a question off there. And the icebreaker, I don't think really worked well because none of the kids wanted to grab the ball. They were very shy at the very start of this program, but they did get into the groove of it. Another picture on the other slide was the other icebreaker that happened after we left the Longhouse. It was like playing musical chairs. There was one person put into the middle, one chair short, and you had to say something that was true about yourself. And if it applied to anybody else, you did a quick change. And the first girl that started it off was absolutely smart. She says, "I'm a girl." And there was 27 other people in the room that had to change seats. So it was really good fun. And it took the tension out of the room for a lot of the kids. Next slide. So Callum Williamson showed the students how to find the location, is what he's doing here, to inject a needle into the hip. And Callum is one of the nursing instructors, just an outstanding instructor for the kids. They really liked what was happening. Next slide. If you get the needle into the right area, there's a little green light that goes on. So it was lots of fun for the kids that were able to try that. Next slide. The students found the simulators labs up at the college really interesting and fun. And if nobody's been up to the college lately, the upgrades that they've done, the renovations, are just out of this world. The nursing lab was outstanding. Next slide. The kids had to practice moving people that had dead weight. Like if you're working with a person with mobility issues, it was good experience for these guys to get to put somebody into a bed, put them back up into the lift and stuff like that. And just a huge thank you to Melody Julset. And the lady with the braid down her back, you will see it probably in a few more slides. That is Brenna Axelson, who kept being asked to help with the demonstrations. Next slide. The kids really enjoyed the tour of the college. When we were doing interviews, we asked a number of them, had they been to the college? And I would say the majority of them have not been to the college. So it was great. This was a highlight for them. They are in this particular area. They're at the dorms, the new dorms. We'd actually split the 34 kids in half. So we're down to 17 and 17 taking the kids for a little tour. Next slide. So Olivia was our tour guide, and she's taking us through the Indigenous Circle at the library. And we got to go and check out the bookstore. The new library that they built at the college is also amazing as well. Slide. The kids got to go and check out the Cedar Cafe, beautiful building, wall-to-wall windows there. It's just a beautiful facility, and the cafeteria as well. I don't think we have anybody here from the college, because we'll the next slide, which is going to be at UNBC. I had to say thank you to Jeff McKay. He was the facilitator. He got up very early in the morning, 6:30. I think he left Terrace to go pick up the Mount Elizabeth bus the students to the college. And then we needed to move over to the university. So thank you, Jeff, for doing that. So we're at the university. The instructors put on lots of really cool hands-on things for the students to do. Next slide. Dr. Tammy Clausen-Ross, she did a great job of explaining brain pain to the students. She used the example of stepping on a nail, and you don't really know that you've got that pain until you look down, and then the pain just shoots up to your brain, and she just explained the whole process. And it was very relevant for people to understand that stepping on a nail, like any one of us could be doing stuff like that. Lots of really cool slides. The stethoscopes were lots of fun for the kids. Next slide, please. We were really lucky to have Dr. Kate Christensen attend. She is the lady you see in the white on the right-hand side. And she grew up in Prince Rupert and started her career as a nurse and then went back as a doctor. She talked about her pathway, and the kids had loads of questions for her, and she just put everybody at absolute ease. Next slide. So what she was doing was she had a portable ultrasound with her and did the demonstration on one of the staff at UNBC. You can see the eye that she showed the students on her phone, just being able to do this. And it was really cool because she talked about being able to go over to Haida Gwaii or Dease Lake or other remote communities where you don't always have the facilities that you need, the equipment that you need. So Bruce, I'm going to head off to the hospital after this. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sorry, that took a little while. Not really, not about UNBC. It's pretty much you explained all of the activities, and we really enjoyed having the kids on campus. I will say this to all those from the school district. Dr. Tammy Klassen-Ross, who did the pain in the brain exercise with the students, she came to us afterwards to Ron, Brian, and myself, and she said, "Where did you get these students?" Because she had just done Adventures in Healthcare in Prince George the week before. And we explained that they were just pulled. They had indicated a bit of interest in healthcare and or health professions, and had been interviewed and accepted into the program. And she said, "I've never met a more engaged group of students." She absolutely loved the amount of interaction that she had with them and their keen interest. So it speaks volumes. She said they didn't quite have that same level of engagement in Prince George. So kudos to all of the schools that that sent students out to UNBC. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Bruce. Next slide, please, Carol. So Tuesday, we were off to Mills Memorial Hospital. The staff divided the students into 3 groups so they could put them into 3 different tours. And once they were on the tours, they divided the kids in half during the simulators. So they gave the kids a really good opportunity to touch and do stuff. The simulators were lots of fun for the kids. Next slide. It says here, the health unit, not enough time to see and do everything. And that's the comments from the kids. Each group got to go to the health unit. There were probably about a dozen stations that were set up. Next slide. The students were able to ask questions about particular careers. They could try out the physiotherapy equipment, learn how to administer naloxone, or a number of other things. Next slide. And when we did our debrief, the students even said they could ask questions at a personal level. So it was really, really nice that the kids had an opportunity to meet one-on-one with healthcare workers like that. Next slide, please. So we're just going from the health unit over back to the hospital. Next slide. So once the new hospital is completed, there's going to be over 200 new FTEs that are going to be required. And while many professions have shortages, I think healthcare is probably one of the greatest needs. And we are sure hoping the students who weren't sure what their career pathways will consider healthcare. The kids absolutely thoroughly enjoyed their time at the hospital. Next slide, please. Marina was absolutely brilliant talking to the kids, talking about confidentiality. If she sees something, she cannot say anything to anybody in the public, and she really emphasized that well. And I think that the kids can respect that. Brad, this is my last slide for Northern Health. Do you have anything you want to add before I go on?
Thank you, Carol. The only thing that I would add is that I'd like to say that we couldn't have done anything differently, but we could have, and that was we could have done this a few years back. We're just so happy that we were able to be a part of this, and it's so meaningful for us and for the sector in the Northwest, understanding we are underrepresented here when you consider our local population's representation within the health sector. So this is a great thing that we've started and are keen to continue it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Next slide, please. So at the end of our hospital day, we went back into the cafeteria with the students and we just did a roundtable. We said, please ignore who's in the room. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings by giving us the good, the bad, and the ugly about the last couple of days. The kids were, like I said at the start, so appreciative. So these are just a few of the things that I've taken off of the comments. that it was awesome, lots of fun. I love the one where he said it's still the coolest program I've ever done. The majority of the people, the staff there, want to be here and figure things out. And they could understand that the staff at the college, at the university, and at Northern Health all were sincere about their jobs. They wanted to do their jobs well. So last weekend, we sent out a satisfaction survey to the students to see, just because they didn't get a chance to talk in the cafeteria, maybe there's other things that they have thought about since then. We're looking forward to getting those surveys back. And just so you know, I was the person that was in contact with the students, and I know it's a little bit of sensitivity with privacy and minors. And anything that I sent out to the students, I also sent out to their parents, and either to Jeff McKay, Tammy Braid, Catherine Johnson, or the principal at Centennial Christian, just to make sure that it wasn't an outside person having any inappropriate contact with students. So just wanted you to feel at ease with that. And that's it. Next slide. We're planning to do this next year. Our partners, I think, are all in. There's a brief meeting happening tomorrow. And yeah, any questions from the school board trustees or the staff?
Any questions for Carol and her team? I don't see any hands up, Carol. You've covered it nicely. I think you did an awesome job.
Okay, I don't know if anybody, Brad or Brian or Bruce, did they want to, or Jeff, did you want to add anything that I might have missed?
You've got an amazing comment in the comment box. I think it was it was exciting.
It was. Your kids are amazing. The kids were just absolutely incredible. And if we get kids like that again, it just makes it much easier to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you for attending and sharing with us. This is awesome. Perfect.
Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So we're going to move on to our meeting, and welcome to the guests as we walk through our agenda. We have a quorum. I do have one request from trustees. If we could have an addition to the agenda under 11.2, and that would be notice of a motion to amend the trustees liaison policy. Is that an agreeable amendment to the agenda? And if so, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? I'm looking for a hand. Thank you, Julia. Second. I don't see a, oh, there it is, Sunny. Thank you. All in favor? And I'm assuming Wayne's okay in terms of we can't see him on the screen.
I'm okay. Yep.
Perfect. Wayne, I sent you a text. Can you have a look at it, please?
Sure.
And we'll move on to 4.1, approval of the minutes of the prior meeting, April 25th, 2023. A motion to approve, please. Ed, seconder. Karen, you stood up. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor? Pass.
Aye.
Good. And then can I have 5.1, a motion to approve the in-camera minutes of April 25th, 2023. Motion. Thank you, Mike. Seconder. Karen. Thank you. All in favor? Passed. And even though I'm a mother of three, I can't multitask and read what Erin just sent me at the same time. Sorry for that. There's been no correspondence received, and we can move on to number 8, the Superintendent of Schools Monthly Report, pages 13 to 16. Go ahead, all yours, Erin.
Thank you, Chair. And I was just responding to an old message from you there, so I apologize for that to pop up
no problem.
on your phone. So good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. And again, it's May. 90% of the school year is basically passed us by. It's 2022-23 school year. So again, sometimes I put the superintendent's report together. I become very reflective on the year to date. And I wanted to start off with this report just to acknowledge that it continues to be such an honor to be the superintendent in Coast Mountain School District. Every day is a learning experience working with learners, staff members, trustees, community members. And this evening's presentation from the group of Adventures in Healthcare is just another example of how a community comes together to support learners. When learners are at the focus and the forefront, great things happen for kids. And so I really appreciate the presentation that happened this evening. In this month's report, in the month of May, I'm also highlighting on the first page. I tend to highlight a few pieces here and there from my full report, but highlighting on the first page of my report an experience I had earlier this month in a community of Kitimat, which was a great example again of a partnership between schools and business and industry coming together in support of students and learners with the Zone 1 robotics competition that was hosted at Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School. It was a great experience for me to be there as superintendent, to see volunteers, coaches, and industry teachers come together with 100+ students from not only Coast Mountain schools, but other community schools as well. So kids coming together to engage in STEM and have great experiences that not unlike the Adventures in Healthcare that will undoubtedly influence the direction and trajectory of kids in a positive way. So kudos to that community for pulling together and hosting that robotics competition. And I like to go on a little bit about it because when you look at the website and you see that Kitimat hosted this competition, the other cities in North America that hosted such a competition are cities like Vancouver, Toronto, and Quebec and Montreal. So Kitimat is, on that stage in this kind of example. And again, it's a real great example of how community is so supportive of our schools and learners and families. It's also, as I say, 90% of our year is behind us. And I'm also reflective on the progress that's happened this year in regards to the first year of implementation of the strategic plan. What came together a year or two ago and came into implementation this year. So many things have happened that in time will have such a large impact again on learners throughout the district. And a couple I just wanted to draw attention to, and the great work that's happening towards things like our data dashboard, which, will again be one of those little things that this time next year, we'll be using it so regularly to help inform the system. It's a great example of something that is, forward thinking for the district. Our recruitment efforts to ensure that we have fully qualified educators in front of every child, because every child and every family in our district deserves to have the very best educators. And even like the work around our K-3 literacy plan, which a lot of effort has gone into this year to develop a draft plan. And now our work with our focus groups and is turning into something that, again, next year we will start to fully implement in a number of schools throughout the district, and very excited for those things to be happening. And they will pay dividends in our district. So really a thank you to so many people in community and in our schools that are so supportive and working really diligently and intentionally towards improving outcomes for learners. A few highlights through the rest of the report on the second page, really just appreciation for those that have participated in the budget planning process, which includes the budget working committee led by Secretary Treasurer Ginger Fuller. So thank you to Ginger for leading that work and leading a very successful online survey that had 200+ participants, parents, community members, rights holders that participated in that input opportunity. And some of the things I've listed there around priorities that have come from that survey, for example, things like the K-3 literacy strategy. A lot of the people that chimed in through that online survey acknowledged the importance of that work, along with the recruitment and retention of qualified teachers, also improving outdoor learning spaces in our school communities, and also the importance of land-based learning, student and staff wellness, and enacting reconciliation throughout the district, along with anti-racism education. So all all very important topics that our community has acknowledged that need to be funded for work going forward. This past month, we've engaged as a district in work with the ministry and with the nations and many partners and trustees included around the reignition of the equity in action. And I know Director Clifton will speak a little bit to that in a few minutes. Also like to highlight in the last number of weeks, we've had a number of administrators who are part of a little bit of some reassignments and administrative movement throughout the district. So really exciting times for a number of individuals who are taking on new administrative roles throughout the district. So exciting time for them, but it's also a real chance for us to acknowledge the opportunities that come with sometimes with a change of leadership at the school level. So a number of our administrators and new administrators as well are acknowledged in this month's report. So thank you to them. And on the last page of this month's report, there is a small note regarding the Accessibility BC Act. And it's a little bit of an awareness piece probably for a lot of folks, but going back to June 2021, the Accessible BC Act became law in the province. And what it does is it provides a framework to identify, remove, and prevent barriers to accessibility. So in the K-12 sector, there are 3 requirements that will be through law will be in place and are required to be in place for public schools by this fall, by September 1st. And that is the establishment of an accessibility committee, the development of an accessible plan, and the establishment of a process for receiving public feedback. And so what's really nice to highlight in this part of the superintendent's report is that Coast Mountains School District is collaboratively working towards meeting these 3 requirements along with all of the other districts, school districts throughout Northern British Columbia in a partnership. That work has already begun. The note that's in the superintendent's report this month is that stresses the importance of those from the disability community and those that work in tandem and in support of the disability community are a part of this plan throughout the North. And if in Coast Mountain School District, we have members of those communities that wish to be part of the Northern BC Accessibility Committee, they can reach out to myself or Executive Assistant Carol Gagnon for more information on how they can be a part of that Northern BC process. So those are just a few of the highlights from the superintendent's report, and thank you for having me on the agenda to share that, Chair.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to receive the superintendent's report as presented today? So move Julia, seconder, Ed, thank you. Any questions for the superintendent on his report? Mike, you had a question? You're muted, Mike. Mike, you're yeah. Mike, are you going to unmute or are you okay?
The space bar did not unmute.
Oh.
Yeah, Superintendent Callahan, I was just wondering if you could repeat the name of the law that was coming into effect that you said by September?
Yeah, so it's what we're highlighting on page 3 of the report is the Accessible BC Act.
The access, is it access?
Accessibility.
No, ACT. ACT.
Act?
Yeah.
For?
It's the Accessibility BC Act. It's a new legislation. It's at the legislation level. Yeah.
Accessibility. I got accessibility and I have act. There's something in between?
BC.
BC.
BC. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of receiving the superintendent's report? Passed. We'll move on to Robert with the Indigenous Education Report. Robert, all yours. There you are.
Thank you. I'm getting it back down to 2 pages or less, so I'm happy not to take up too much space today because there's of course a lot going on and a lot to capture, but here are some of the highlights is that we are growing the department and the ways that we are approaching the way that we deliver programs and services. And this, I just want to say that when there is a lot of work to do, people think that, throwing bodies at it will resolve the problem. And I want to ensure that there's an understanding that there are multiple ways of approaching circles of care that both support Indigenous learners' academic progress, but also social, emotional, spiritual connections. And it is very important that we continue to diversify the way and who is called in to do the work. And there is a vision of moving forward that will actually be co-constructed and co-created as we begin to, develop relationships with each other and deepen and nourish relationships with rights holders. So there are 3 positions currently right now that are coming on board, and I really appreciate people's willingness to participate in a interview process that really is moving away from sort of a linear approach to people's revealing what parts of themselves that they bring to their work. And in several of the interviews, it was very much centered in story, which again respects oral traditions and the fact that story is who we are. And in order to be responsive to candidates, holding space in a way that asks them to call forth the best parts of themselves is what we intended to do. And through this process, we identified wonderful people who have stepped forward to take on these roles, and really look forward to inviting them into their new roles and responsibilities. Again, I have Hazelton Secondary School on the report monthly because, again, showing up to ensure that we are continuing to walk alongside students, families, staff, teachers, administration, community members, elders, is a lot of intentional work. And I'd like to acknowledge that Kathy Sawchuk, who is a consultant who is being called to do this work in support of continuing to look at transformation of the ways that programs, services are structured at Hazelton Secondary. And so she has gone up to walk alongside Louise, and will continue to do so. And you can read a little bit more about what that is looking like. The next step will be to go to community and receive and ask some questions and receive some guidance and direction from elders, matriarchs, and the education coordinators. And so we did meet a few weeks, 2 weeks ago, to imagine what that could look like. So that is, again, co-constructed with the education coordinators up there. As Aaron said before, we reignited the equity scan. We were one of the first school districts to pilot that. And out of the scanning process was to come a theory of action that would be embedded into the work ahead. And with, we're not assigning blame, but for multiple reasons, it just did not take the shape that I guess that was intended, where it was left off at. So it was really wonderful to have so many participants from diverse groups to participate in the work. I do like to go back to what Joe Heslop said, is that this work is collective, that it doesn't just land at the feet of the Indigenous Education Department to organize and structure and call people in, but it is a collective responsibility. However, I do want to say that it is important that when you are being called forward or to step forward as an advocate, you have to lean in with an understanding that Indigenous people get to take the lead and they get to make decisions on what is helpful. And so coming to the circle to do this work isn't about a rush to fix things. Joe talked about this, that it isn't a solution-based, we're not rushing to a silver bullet, but it's actually to be in a space where we're reflecting, we're noticing, and when somebody is speaking about something we don't understand, that we reconfirm what is being said, rather than rushing to judgment or escalating things or making assumptions. And it's really about slowing down. And so I want to make sure that the work moving forward related to the equity scan is embedded into what we are doing moving forward, along with the All My Relations working group, to ensure that we are growing our ways of sensing and feeling the world. We're growing our own worldviews, that we're showing up with the best parts of ourselves, and that it's very important to listen together so that we can hear new possibilities, so new ideas emerge, and that inspires collective action. On the second page, I talk about revisiting the item related to the special programs application renewal to the BC Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. And I know that we have currently received a few letters of support. There has been some questions related that have come from our local unions in relation to some curiosity about how this expanded language will affect the collective agreements. I do draw attention to the fact that both in the QP documentation related to reconciliation and hiring processes, that they are in support of ensuring that there is broad representation of Indigenous peoples in all employee groups. And there was also a memorandum of understanding that was written between the BCTF and Finesse related to this as well. And so I look forward to continuing to work with our partner groups to find ways to support this necessary step towards reconciliation. And finally, I know I've been talking about it for a few months. I do have a, currently, I believe it's about 39 pages, and I told you the entire document was 44, but the first part had grown a little bit longer in terms of width and breadth of what was being included. I will be sharing that out with Carol as an attachment. I just do want to say that this is a document that is in progress. There are certain areas that still haven't been fully fleshed out or thought out, but I wanted to have your eyes on it early in case there was any questions, curiosities, input, or feedback. I will continue to work with the additional people in the department who are coming on board to take up the collective responsibility of bringing this through to fruition. I think it is a very important foundational document. It's been inspired by a district principal and a director from other districts. And then it inspired me to create and refine and put into words what many people are asking questions about related to what is the role, what is the purpose of the department, how do targeted funds work, what does that mean in terms of enhanced services and programs. And then in the beginning of the document is embedded all the policies moving from the School Act right through to all stakeholder groups. So I look forward to sharing that with you, and yeah, we can have a chance for you to provide me feedback in some way or manner. Thank you for letting me report on the things that I've been up to.
Sorry. May I have a motion? The board receive for information the Indigenous Education Report for May 2023. Would someone please move? Thank you, Sunny. Second, and Karen. Any questions? I see no questions. I have a text from Wayne saying he'll speak up if there's any objections, so we can go ahead. And all in favor? Passed. Thank you. So we'll move on to the standing committee reports, and I pass it on to Trustee Ed Harrison. Pages 20 to 22. You're muted still, Ed.
Okay, these are the minutes from the business committee meeting, May the 10th, 2023. I move that the minutes of the business committee meeting held May the 10th, 2023 be received for information.
A seconder, please. Thank you, Julia. Any questions? All in favor? Pass. Thank you.
Okay, the next item from the business committee is the quarterly financial statements, March 31st, 2023. And this is in accordance with the budget monitoring and reporting guidelines proposed by the Financial Health Working Group for School Districts of BC. All school districts must provide the Board of Education or committee of the board with a minimum quarterly financial report, which indicates forecasted results compared with actual budget, and offer a discussion and analysis as necessary to fully communicate financial performance and key risks. Quarterly results and projections to June the 30th should be provided by September the 30th, December the 31st, and March the 31st of each year. This will allow the board to monitor the school district's financial position throughout the year on an ongoing basis and the expected year-end position. Attached for the board's consideration is the quarterly financial statements as of March 31st, 2023 for Coast Mountain School District 82. The business committee reviewed the quarterly financial statements at its meeting held on May the 10th, 2023, and brings forward to the board for information. The motion is that the board receive for information the quarterly financial statements as of March 31st, 2023.
A seconder for the motion? Someone raise their hand, nod. Karen did. Thank you.
Mike did.
Oh, Mike, did Mike? Sorry, I did miss you up the top there. Thanks. Any questions on the report? All in favor? Pass. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is the ministry adjusted funding allocations, February 2023. The background is that the reference the attached interim operating grants following the February 23rd, 2023 enrollment count for the 2022-23 school year for Coast Mountain School District 82, as received from the Ministry of Education and Childcare's Funding and Allocation Branch. The Business Committee reviewed the February 2023 adjusted funding allocations at its meeting held May the 10th, 2023, and brings forward to the board that information. The recommended action is the motion that follows, that the board receive for information the Ministry of Education and Childcare adjusted funding allocations for February 2023.
A seconder, please. Karen, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Passed. Thank you.
Okay, the ministry approved approval 2021-22 Indigenous Education Fund carry forward. The reference the attached correspondence received April the 12th, 2023 from the Deputy Minister of Education and Childcare granting approval pursuant to section 106.4 bracket 2 of the School Act for the Board of Education for Coast Mountain School District to underspend its 2021-2022 school year Indigenous education targeted funds in the amount of $508,338. The variation of direction was granted on the condition that these funds will be brought forward and added to the 2022-2023 school year Indigenous education targeted amount to be expended on Indigenous education programs as detailed in the Deputy Minister's letter. Board's letter to the Minister of Education dated September 28th, 2022, requesting approval to underspend its targeted Indigenous education funding for the 21-22 school year is attached for information. The Business Committee reviewed the Deputy Minister's correspondence at its May the 10th, 2023 meeting and brings forward to the board for information. The motion is that the board receive the Deputy Minister of Education and Childcare's correspondence granting approval pursuant to section 106.4 bracket 2 of the School Act for the Board of Education for Coast Mountain School District 82 to underspend its 2021-22 school year Indigenous education targeted funds in an amount of $508,000, 338. So that's the motion.
Seconder. Mike, thank you. All in favor? Or any questions? Sorry for what was happening. No, all in favor passed.
No.
No, you have a question, Sunny? Sorry, go ahead. No, Mike had a
Oh, it was
question.
me.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was me.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that that's a small amount of money that was carried over. There was a much larger amount awarded and most of it was spent, and that money is recycled. It's not held back for any specific purpose. It just didn't make it through the year that it was intended.
Great, thank you. All in favor now? I don't know why you're bouncing across my screen, Mike, but you're for some reason are. All in favor of the motion? Yep, passed. Yep. Okay. We now move to the Education Committee report from Trustee Yonkman. All yours, Karen.
Karen, you're muted.
I watch everyone else do it. Now it's my turn. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at 10.2.1, which is a meeting handout for the Education Committee meeting minutes that was held on May the 10th. I need a motion just to receive these minutes for information, as long as there's no no errors or omissions.
So moved by Karen, a seconder. Okay, thank you, Julia. Any questions? Ed, you had a question? You're muted, Ed.
Was the meeting held April the 10th or April the 12th? The minutes indicate.
Yes. Okay. I'll have to double check on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, with the double checking of the date to be corrected, are we all in favor of the minutes?
It's the 12th. It was held the 12th.
So with the correction, or
Yeah.
verifying the correction, all in favor? Pass, thank you. Move on to the field trips.
All right, 10.2.2. We have a couple of field trip submissions for board approval in principle. There are a trip Hazelton Secondary School field trip to Greece, May 17th to 25th, 2024. And Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School field trip to Rome and Greece with extension to Pompeii and Delphi, spring break 2025. Okay, so the background, in accordance with policy 1080, field trips and outdoor education, board approval in principle is required for all level 5 field trips prior to initiating, planning, or fundraising, and prior to promoting with students or the community. Level 5 field trips encompasses all trips regardless of the duration that travel outside of provincial and national jurisdiction. Final board approval is required for all level 5 field trips with the submission of the completed field trip application to the board within the following timelines. A, within Canada, 60 days. B, international, 120 days. The attached board the attached board approval in principle submissions are presented to the board for approval. Number 1, Hazelton Secondary School out of country field trip to Greece, May 17th to 25th, 2024. And the second is Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School out of country field trip to Rome and Greece with extensions to Pompeii and Delphi, spring break 2025. The Education Committee reviewed the aforementioned field trip submissions for board approval in principle at its May 10th, 2023 meeting and forwards to the board with a recommendation for approval. So the recommended action is that the board approve in principle the Hazelton Secondary School out of country field trip to Greece, May 17th to 25, 2024. And do we do these together or do we do them one at a time?
We do them separately.
Okay.
So the first motion is that you moved is the approval in principle of the Hazelton trip.
Yes.
Do we have a seconder, please? Ed, thank you. Any questions? Ed, you're muted, so I can't hear your question.
Sorry, with the proviso that May the 10th be changed to May the 12th.
Oh, hang on.
Just
believe the meeting actually occurred on May the 10th because
Okay.
the 12th is a Friday.
okay.
Yes, yeah, the one we spoke of earlier was held April the 12th.
Okay.
And the last one was May the 10th.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, any further questions or all in favor? All in favor? Pass, thank you. The second motion, Karen?
Okay, that the board approve in principle the Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School out of country field trip to Rome and Greece with extension to Pompeii and Delphi, spring break 2025.
A seconder for the motion, please. Thank you, Julia. Any questions? All in favor? Excuse me. Pass, thank you. And you move on to the board authorized courses on page 38.
Yes. All right, I'm scrolling down. Yeah, we have, we were presented with two. Okay, my screen is frozen. I'm trying to get to my note here. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Meeting agenda 10.2.3. And this is on pages 38 to 56. Okay, the background discussion, board authority authorized courses help educators, school districts, or independent schools respond to the local needs of schools and their communities, and to provide choice and flexibility for students. BAA courses provide an opportunity for educators to explore content beyond the boundaries of the ministry curriculum. BAA courses must be authorized by boards/authorities according to the requirements set by the Ministry of Education and Childcare. The following 2 board authority authorized courses as attached are submitted for the board's approval. The first, forensic science course for grade level 11, and it's been submitted by Mount Elizabeth Secondary School for the 2023-24 school year. The recognition is provided to Superintendent Robin Gray of the Cowichan Valley School District for providing permission to Coast Mountain School District to use their Forensic Science 11 BAA course template in the creation of a Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School BAA. Okay, so that's the first course. The second course is a leadership course for grade level 11 and 12, submitted by Caledonia Secondary School for the 2024-2025 school year. The Education Committee reviewed the BAA course applications at its May 10th, 2023 meeting and forwards to the board with a recommendation for approval. So the recommended action: that the board approve the forensic science course grade 11 level as a board authority authorized course commencing 2023-2024 school year as submitted by Mount Elizabeth Middle Secondary School.
A seconder for the motion, please.
Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions on the board approved course? All in favor? Passed.
All right, the next one, that the board approve the leadership course grade 11 and 12 level as a board authority authorized course commencing the 2024. Okay, my computer just started spinning and I've lost the rest of that motion.
Okay, I'll read it for you, Karen.
you.
Commencing the 2024-2025 school year as submitted by Caledonia Secondary School. So moved by Karen. A seconder, please. Thank you, Julia. Any questions on the course?
Yeah.
All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Unfortunately, computers don't always work for us. Wayne can't get a camera working. So we'll move to 11.1, the 2023-2024 annual facilities grant expenditure plan. And as soon as I get to that page, I believe, who would like to speak to it? Is that you, Ginger, or is that Rob?
Robert, do you want me to read the background and discussion? Okay. One of the core, meeting agenda item 11.1. One of the core functions of the Ministry of Education and Childcare is to allocate funds for the K-12 public education system. These funds include capital funding for school construction and operating funding for ongoing renovations and upgrading required to maintain the condition of existing capital assets. The 2023-2024 annual facilities grant, the AFG, allocated for Coast Mountain School District 82 totals $1.903728 million. as referenced in the attached AFG expenditure grant allocation issued by the Ministry of Education. The allocation of the school district's AFG is calculated by the Ministry of Education and Childcare using a formula based on student enrollment and the average age of facilities, with an adjustment made for unique geographic factors. To comply with the Treasury Board direction, each school district must annually provide the Ministry of Education with an AFG project and spending plan prior to the allocation of the AFG funding. Specifically, each school district's plan will include a list of AFG projects and expenditures expected to be undertaken during the fiscal year April 1 to March 31st. Attached for information is the 2023-2024 AFG expenditure plan for Coast Mountain School District 82, as submitted to the Ministry of Education and Child Care Capital Management Branch on May 19th, 2023. Due to the submission deadline of May 19th, the 2023-2024 AFG expenditure plan is being forwarded directly to the board for information. The action is that the board receive the information on the 2023-2024 annual facilities grant expenditure plan.
Could I have a motion to receive from a trustee and a seconder, Mike? Any questions on the annual facilities grant? Seeing none, all in favor? Pass, thank you. Now we move on to 11.2, which was an addition to the agenda. And Wayne, would you please step forward or speak up? We can't see you. Yeah. Wayne, there we are.
All right, I'm here. Yeah, just a moment. I move that the board have a notice of motion for the next public meeting to amend the trustee liaison policy.
Seconder for the motion. Thank you, Mike. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Wait.
Yeah, pass. Thank you. Good. Okay, now we move on to the board chair's report, which is on page 61. I've submitted a written report, which highlights a couple of things that's been happening in the last month. Echoing what our superintendent said, it's great to have the budget committee working and getting our budget ready for its June deadline, and very exciting to have 3 students who, I have to say, asked amazing questions. It was great. The student questions have been, one student in particular was asking some really good questions. Our BCPC Northwest regional meeting was canceled. It's been rescheduled, but we did take the opportunity to meet with the Nisga'a School District Board Chairperson and 2 of her trustees. And talk about how we can partner, how we can work together, how we can share learning opportunities. And that was very exciting to be working together and to think about how we can also work with our Northwest branch and have things happen so that we're all learning from each other and working on student success that way. I had one short addition to my notes, as things seem to happen from day to day and not always in preparation for the report to be in a week early, is that we've had a fair number of comments about having to update our governance policies. And Ginger has taken on the lead for that as her role and responsibility. The 3 committee members are Julia, Karen, and myself. And I just added to my report as a nudge that I think we have a little work to do over the summer, and it would be good because of the timelines to have policies reviewed and done. If we got them done over the summer and then into the process in September to go through the business committee and the whole consultation stuff. So I just wanted to add that to my report. And when I wrote it a week ago, it wasn't on my mind and it came up in the last few days. So I submit my report for information if I could have a motion to receive. Thank you, Julia. Seconder. Mike, thank you. All in favor? Passed. So now we move on to trustee reports. Anybody wish to speak? Karen, if you don't brag, I'll be in trouble. Please. Okay, go ahead, Ed, first. You're on mute, though.
I'd just like to acknowledge the bands that were back in Niagara Falls did very well. And the jazz band came back with a silver, which is outstanding.
Perfect. Excellent. Mike, any comments for the trustee reports?
Yes, I've gathered some community input for the board's consideration. And I'll be forwarding that through. I gained some valuable insights to the way some of our community members think, and some quite thoughtful reasoning by some of those people.
Okay, so you're going to submit that, Mike?
I will.
Okay. Julia, anything? No? And Karen, I know you can kick me or whatever afterwards, but I really do want you to celebrate. I'm so proud of what you've accepted to do.
Okay, I'm trying to find the letter, but my screen is spinning and my phone is not doing any better. I don't know, but I will report that I visited KCH yesterday. I was invited by Nancy last week and I set it up to come on Tuesday. I spent quite a bit of time with our trade students. They're working on the greenhouse. They were showing me their brickwork and their concrete work and, you know, their cutting skills and measuring. And, you know, I was really pleased with these kids. Very eager and very happy to explain what they're doing to, you know, what as they were doing it. And I was really impressed. Like I did usually like kind of clam up a little and they don't want to say much. These students, they just had so much to tell me. It was great. And I must say, I was impressed. They all had their steel toe boots on. They had gloves on. They had safety glasses on. So that made me really happy. But yeah, just a great program and really impressed to see these kids working so hard and being really interested in what they're doing. Thank you.
Now, am I going to say what you did?
You can say it because I can't find the official wording.
I'm very proud at nudging Karen. Karen filled in the form to sit on BCSTA provincial committees, and she's been appointed to the legislative committee. And I think she'll be a great asset for pushing things forward for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
I'll do my best. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sunny, do you have anything to share?
Yes, so this is pretty much a general announcement here for anyone that wants to join. So June 3rd at River Lodge, starting at 5 o'clock, is going to be the second annual Pride Prom for Kitimat, being hosted by the Gender and Sex Alliance and Tamantic Status of Women. By all means, it's all open to families, starting at 5 o'clock. We'll have a panel actually of 4 to 5 local LGBTQIA members sitting on there. It is a catered dinner. It'll be starting at 6 o'clock. We also have door prizes as well too. And we'll even have a photo booth as well too, some activities for little kids. So it's open to all families, all ages. Just note that this is not a school district event. I've already been asked about that. They're like, oh, it's cool that I said, this is a community event, so it's being hosted by the community. So I myself will be volunteering there as well too. So by all means, bring your families and bring your friends next week, June 3rd.
Great, thank you. Wayne, did you have anything to add?
Not too much. I just wanted to say that I had the pleasure of meeting with 4 student teachers who came up from the district office last week and or this week, I can't remember now. But anyway, they were wonderful, wonderful young people. And I believe, Aaron, they're from the UBC program.
Yes, yeah, UBC, and
Yeah.
kudos to Geraldine Lawler, who's on the call, who has been working diligently with other members of the team to make that experience happen for a number of students at UBC.
Yeah, I think the community had the rare opportunity to make it sort of a very engaging thing for them. They got to go on a boat and they got to do a few things around the community. So very good people, the sort of caliber that we like to see up here.
Excellent. Do we have any questions from our public or other stakeholders? Joanna, do you have any questions for us? I don't hear anything, or I don't see her mute coming off. So our next hybrid board meeting will be in Stewart on Wednesday, June the 14th. And we look forward to seeing everybody then. And Carol just let me know there was no questions came in through the chat. So I think we've done what we're supposed to be. Okay. Any questions? If not, please. Oh, Mike, you've got your hand up. Or are you saying motion to adjourn?
Okay. Yeah, I had a question. The meeting in Stewart, what time was it?
Something's echoing. I don't know what that is.
It stopped.
Yeah, no.
Oh, is it on my end? I don't.
Joanna, are you trying to ask a question?
I was asking the time the meeting in Stewart starts.
It would be the same. We'll get the agenda a couple of weeks ahead of time. It'll be the in camera and then the 5 o'clock meeting for the public meeting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn? The sun's out. I'm going outside. Thank you. Accepted the motion to adjourn. Take care all.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.